morning, evening, or night, wherever you are. Welcome to WHAM today. Take a deep breath, clear your mind, and let's drift through the whispers of today's world, one quiet thought at a time. As we wrap up Thursday, 29th May, 2025, let's see what stories are unfolding around us. Israel's government has approved the establishment of 22 new Jewish settlements in the occupied West Bank, legalizing existing unauthorized outposts. Defense Minister stated this move prevents the establishment of a Palestinian state. This decision has been condemned by Palestinian presidential spokesperson Nabil Abu Rudaini as a dangerous escalation. Israel captured the West Bank from Jordan in 1967 and has since worked to solidify control over the land. The war between Israel and Hamas has reached its 600th day. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced that Israel killed senior Hamas leader Mohammed Sinwar. Thousands rallied in Tel Aviv, Israel, on the 600th day of the war, supporting hostages held in Gaza and urging a ceasefire to secure their release. The humanitarian situation in Gaza remains dire, with Israeli attacks resulting in numerous deaths and a severe hunger crisis. Israeli attacks in Gaza have killed more than 60 people in a day, according to local health officials, amid chaotic scenes surrounding aid handouts in Rafah, southern Gaza, with over 50 deaths reported overall. An attack on the Brewed refugee camp resulted in 19 deaths, according to Gaza's health ministry. A crowd also stormed a food warehouse in central Gaza. A visual guide details the turmoil during Gaza aid distribution, where at least 3 people were killed and dozens injured when Israeli forces opened fire on starving Palestinians. The New Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, JHF, an Israeli-backed NGO using US-based contractors, faltered during its first food distribution in Rafah. Initial food distribution by JF was chaotic, with Israeli forces opening fire at the perimeter, causing civilians to flee, resulting in injuries and at least 1 death. The GF is a controversial group distributing food in Gaza with Israeli support. This raises concerns about its adequacy as a replacement for major aid organizations. US-based Rama Worldwide charity accused the Israeli-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, GAF, of using its logo without authorization on food deliveries in Gaza. The UN condemned Israel's new aid program in Gaza, intended to bypass both the United Nations and Hamas, deeming it dangerously inadequate even if it functions as intended. There is mounting criticism of Israel. Shifting focus to Iran, former U.S. President Donald Trump claimed he warned Israel against attacking Iran because he believed a nuclear deal with Tehran was imminent. Trump stated the deal would grant us inspectors access to Iranian sites to prevent nuclear weapon development. He confirmed holding talks with Israel, advising against an attack on Tehran. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, wary of a diplomatic solution to curbing Iran's nuclear program, continues to press for military action that would upend President Trump's push for a negotiated deal. Meanwhile, Israel conducted another strike on Yemen's main airport in Sanaa, targeting it for the 2nd time this month. An earlier Israeli attack on Sanaa airport in Yemen destroyed the last passenger plane operated by the country's main airline. Israel claimed the bombing destroyed the last plane used by the Iran-backed Houthi militia. Finally, in the United Kingdom, police clashed with protesters demonstrating against Israel's war on Gaza outside King's College, London. Japan's economic landscape is seeing significant shifts. Japan's nominal GDP fell to 4th place globally in 2023, surpassed by Germany. Debt has ballooned to twice the size of its economy, forcing difficult choices on debt-fueled spending. To address a nationwide transportation shortage, Japan is considering allowing bus and railway companies to enter the ride-hailing business, with a trial period suggested by a council. Japan is investing in homegrown startups through the Environment Ministry, offering N60 billion via the Japan Green Investment Corp for carbon neutrality. Turning to trade, Japan is offering a fund to support U.S. shipbuilding as part of ongoing tariff negotiations. Former President Trump's support for Nippon Steel's bid could aid Japan in removing tariffs on autos and other exports. Japan's chief tariff negotiator suggested U.S. defense equipment purchases could reduce the trade deficit. However, during a 45-minute call between a Japanese prime minister and former US President Trump, Tokyo expected tough talk on tariffs, but instead, Trump delivered a meandering monologue centered on his recent Middle East trip and self-praise. Culturally, Onosato Daiki was named a Yokozuna, the highest title in sumo wrestling, marking the first time in 8 years a Japanese man has achieved this rank. Cities are rescheduling summer festivals to avoid extreme heat, moving them to spring and autumn. Tokyo's Adachi Fireworks Festival will take place on May 31 instead of its usual late July slot. Recent events include over 20 Japanese nationals being detained in Cambodia following a raid targeting online scams. A Japanese lender received a business improvement order for concealing fraudulent corporate loans, with former executives concealing the loans through unauthorized depositor accounts. The U.S. Embassy in Tokyo suspended scheduling new interviews for student visa applicants. Japanese Education Minister Toshiko Abe stated that her ministry has asked Japanese universities to accept students affected by the U.S. visa block. Toto is expanding its baited sales in the United States after dominating its home market, with the company president stating that tariffs will not impede their progress. In the United States, there have been calls for allies, including Japan, to assist in reviving its shipbuilding industry amid concerns over China's dominance. The U.S. Embassy in Tokyo suspended scheduling new interviews for student visa applicants. Meanwhile, in Cambodia, authorities detained over 20 Japanese nationals following a raid targeting online scams, acting on a tip-off alleging Japanese involvement in fraud. Lastly, Italian MotoGP rider Luca Marini suffered serious injuries, including a collapsed lung, in a crash while testing for an endurance race in Japan. Marini was hospitalized following the accident. The United States is preparing to deny visas to foreign officials believed to be suppressing Americans as social media content. In a separate matter, the Trump administration will allow OCG, a previously deported Guatemalan man, to return to the U.S. after a Massachusetts federal judge's order connected to a deportation case. Turning to Greenland, the country is bracing for a tourism boom thanks to new direct flights from the United States. Nuuk, the capital, is particularly concerned about managing the anticipated increase in visitors. The white-nosed disease devastating bat populations in both the United States and Canada has been linked to a newly identified fungus originating in Europe and Asia. Syria sees over 1.87 million displaced citizens returning to rebuild their lives amidst widespread devastation. The European Union has eased economic sanctions, granting the Syrian central bank access to European financial markets, though security sanctions persist. Further EU sanctions targeted individuals allegedly involved in attacks on Alawite civilians during March's coastal violence. A global crime ring planned to exchange cocaine for Syrian weapons, raising fears of Bashar al-Assad's arsenal falling into dangerous hands across 4 continents. Shifting focus to Minnesota, children of ISIS fighters are starting anew, including grandchildren of an American family who lost a child to ISIS and were rescued from Syrian desert camps. European Union. European companies in China are struggling with soft demand and vague regulations. This has led to European automakers losing market share. Security is tightening among French crypto executives after kidnappings, including that of David Ballant. Ballant is the co-founder of a crypto asset storage firm. Some believe new EU crypto rules may be contributing to the security issues. On a brighter note, Cathay Innovation, CSS closed a $1 AI venture fund. It is the largest AI-specific fund in the EU. Sports. Chelsea won the UEFA Conference League final, beating Real Betis 4-1 in Rock-La-Dada. They are the first club to win all 4 major European titles. Mexico is on the cusp of a historic moment as it gears up for its inaugural judicial elections, a sweeping reform that will see citizens casting ballots for more than 2,600 candidates vying for roles within federal, state, and local courts. This ambitious judicial overhaul, spearheaded by former President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, has ignited debate and apprehension, primarily centered on the potential for infiltration by organized crime. These concerns are amplified by accusations leveled against some candidates, alleging ties to cartels and involvement in serious criminal activities. The outcome of these elections will significantly shape the composition of judicial and magistrate positions nationwide. United States. The U.S. Commerce Secretary sparked controversy by suggesting former President Trump linked trade access for India to brokering a ceasefire with Pakistan. U.S. officials defended tariffs as essential for national security, using the alleged ceasefire deal as a prime illustration. Simultaneously, Indian students at Harvard University are grappling with visa uncertainties, reportedly feeling apprehensive due to ongoing disputes between the university and the government. India. Kiaide. India's Ministry of External Affairs, MEA, firmly denied the U.S. mediated any ceasefire with Pakistan. The MEA also disputed claims of trade incentives being offered as part of any such discussions. In other news, allegations have surfaced regarding the fabrication of an international image of a Muslim scholar. Accusations include claims that police, media, and courts relied on flimsy evidence and prejudices to depict the scholar as a security risk. The plight of Indian students at Harvard facing visa issues in the U.S. further complicates the international landscape. Kenya has lost a literary giant with the passing of Ogiwa Thiong'o at the age of 87. The acclaimed writer and dissident was known for his sharp critiques of both British colonialism and the subsequent post-colonial Kenyan landscape. His influential works delved into the complexities and injustices of colonialism within Kenya. Notably, he penned the first modern novel in the Gikuyu language, a feat accomplished while he was imprisoned, writing on toilet paper. His imprisonment had spurred Amnesty International to declare him a prisoner of conscience. This designation triggered a global campaign that ultimately led to his release from Committee Maximum Security Prison in December 1978. In Iran, Pedram Madani, a 41-year-old man, was executed after being convicted of spying for Israel, a move condemned by activists citing an unfair trial. Madani was moved from Evin prison to Gilsalhizer prison in Karaj before the execution. Simultaneously, Iran indicated it might reconsider allowing American inspectors through the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, if a nuclear agreement is achieved that satisfies Iran's conditions. Adding to internal pressures, truck drivers in Iran have been striking for almost a week, demonstrating against low wages, high insurance costs, and the threat of rising fuel prices. France's President Emmanuel Macron recently wrapped up a significant 5-day diplomatic journey through Southeast Asia, making notable visits to Vietnam and Indonesia before delivering a keynote address at the Shangri-La Dialogue. In Singapore, highlighting France's strategic interests and growing influence in the Indo-Pacific region. In a separate and somber matter, retired French surgeon Joël the Scorn received his sentence for the sexual abuse of hundreds of patients, mostly children, marking this as the largest case of its kind ever recorded in the nation. Turning to the United States, North Carolina experienced a denial of FEMA funding for cleanup efforts following Hurricane Helene during the Trump administration. Thailand is reversing its stance on recreational cannabis use, restricting it to medical purposes, raising questions about the future of its expanding cannabis industry. Furthermore, army chiefs from Thailand and Cambodia are slated to meet to address a recent border clash that resulted in the death of a Cambodian soldier on their shared, historically sensitive border. Cambodia mourns the loss of a soldier in a border skirmish with Thai forces along their contested frontier. In the wake of the incident, Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet voiced optimism about the upcoming meeting between Cambodian and Thai army chiefs, hoping it will lead to a constructive resolution of the border tensions. The Czech Republic summoned the Chinese ambassador due to cyber attacks traced to the Chinese cyber espionage group AP31, connected to China's Ministry of State Security. These attacks have persisted since 2022. Furthermore, relations between the Czech Republic and Slovakia have deteriorated, particularly over differing views on the conflict in Ukraine, marking a low point since their separation over 3 decades ago. Shifting focus to China, the nation faces accusations from the Czech Republic regarding the AP31 cyber espionage group's activities. These accusations have led to diplomatic tensions. China's Ministry of State Security is allegedly linked to these cyber attacks. In the latest from Slovakia, relations with the Czech Republic have strained, especially concerning perspectives on the situation in Ukraine. This divergence marks a notable shift in the dynamic between the two countries, which once formed a unified nation. New Zealand saw a court discharge the husband of an Australian diplomat without conviction after he admitted to assault for spitting on a teenager while intoxicated. In other news, the government is revising inter-country adoption laws to better combat child slavery and abuse. Meanwhile, the Suter Art Gallery in Nelson took down Diane Prince's Flagging the Future exhibit after protests and safety worries emerged from the public invitation to tread on a New Zealand flag. Poland held a closely contested presidential runoff election between a liberal, pro-European mayor and a staunch nationalist conservative. Observers noted the outcome was too close to definitively predict. Former U.S. President Donald Trump reportedly sought to influence the election's results. Switzerland recently witnessed a destructive glacier collapse in the Swiss Alps on May 19. The event triggered a cascade of ice, rocks, and mud, devastating the village of Blatten. At least 1 person is missing, and around 300 residents have been evacuated. Sudan is currently grappling with a devastating cholera outbreak, reporting 172 fatalities and exceeding 2,500 reported cases of illness in the last week alone. This health crisis is intensifying due to the ongoing civil war, which has caused extensive displacement and crippled the nation's healthcare infrastructure. In Khartoum, nearly all of the city's approximately 100 public and private medical facilities are out of service, significantly impeding efforts to manage the outbreak and deliver crucial medical care. Shifting focus to the United States and its policies, the Trump administration has petitioned the Supreme Court for permission to expedite deportations to South Sudan. Analysts speculate that this measure may be designed to discourage immigration by instilling fear among potential immigrants. Malaysia is currently navigating political turbulence as Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim grapples with potential cabinet instability. This follows the recent resignations of 2 prominent ministers, triggered by the controversial promotion of Anwar's daughter to a deputy position within his political party. This promotion is perceived as a strategic move to groom her as his successor. Despite these developments, Anwar Ibrahim insists that he has not yet formally accepted the resignations, leaving the situation unresolved. Cambodia experienced renewed border tensions with Thailand after a clash resulted in the death of a Cambodian soldier. Both Cambodian and Thai officials have traded accusations, each claiming the other's troops initiated the gunfire. The Thai military asserts that Cambodian soldiers encroached upon a disputed area near Ubon Ratchathani province. Accusations of instigating the armed confrontation are flying from both sides. This has led to increased tensions and calls for restraint from Cambodia's Prime Minister, who seeks a peaceful resolution to the escalating situation. Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. continues to entrust Gilberto Teodoro Jr. with the role of Defense Secretary in a recent cabinet reshuffle. Teodoro is recognized for his firm opposition to China's assertive behavior in the region. Shifting focus to East Timor, authorities there will deport a former Filipino congressman implicated in the assassination of a governor, deeming him a national security risk and a potential source of reputational damage. Turkey is cracking down on premature standees on airplanes. Passengers who get up before the aircraft fully stops could be fined. This new rule aims to improve safety and order during disembarkation. Northern Marianas saw a visit from UK Consul General Paul Rennie, a move emphasizing stronger ties with Pacific Island communities and common goals. Indonesia's sovereign wealth fund, Danantara, is under scrutiny because of a possible alliance with BlackRock. BlackRock's ties to arms producers that supply Israel have sparked controversy, with critics suggesting this could weaken Indonesia's support for Palestine. Hungary's Prime Minister, Viktor Orbán, seen by some as a model for Donald Trump, is increasingly popular with American conservatives. His appeal comes from his work to change Hungary's political system. Pakistan is working hard to show it is acting responsibly, even with increased tension between Pakistan and India. Both countries have shifted from possible military action to using diplomacy to influence world opinion. Nepal has seen tens of thousands take to the streets to demand the return of the monarchy and to make the former king the head of state. Japan's Prime Minister, Shigeru Ishiba, met with Grand Duke Henri of Luxembourg and Defense Minister Yuriko Nadia Bax in Tokyo. Yemen's Houthi movement, despite efforts to weaken it, can still attack Israel. And that's a wrap for today's news, because even headlines need a nap. Stay curious, stay kind, and let the noise fade as you find your quiet. Take care, stay awesome, and I'll see you next time on WHAM Today.